We actually have an app on the App Store. If you go on there with your phones and you search API events, it should come up. So you can download that if you want to know more about the agenda, a bit more about the speakers and the sponsors. And make sure to use the WAPI hashtag on your social media posts. The hashtag for this year is WAPI Summit 2018. Now, as I said yesterday, issue 4 of African Property Skyline magazine is available. You can visit africaskylinemag.com. The next issue will be published in April next year, so you might as well get your hands on this one now. We will be keeping to time, even though we're starting slightly, but as you saw yesterday, we were able to catch up. And we'll be doing the same thing as well today. So I ask all moderators and speakers to keep to the timing. I will be reminding you, I'll give you a 5 minutes countdown or notice once your time is up. You'll just see me, pacing up and down here, trying to get your attention. And then we'll throw to a 5 minutes Q&A session. Please keep your questions brief. You can make very brief comments, introduce yourselves, and then we'll get them answered. In some cases, we might only be able to take 1 or 2 questions, depending on the timing. All right, and we want to thank again our sponsors. This is day 2 of the summit, and the sponsors, you can see them there. Our platinum sponsor is Brawl Property Group, so we thank them. And we thank all our sponsors, our lunch sponsor, Urban Shelter, yesterday's, dinner, Zama, and all the industry sponsors, and it's all listed on here. We thank you very much for your contribution. Without you, we would not have been able to make this possible. Okay, so very quickly, before I call on the speaker, yesterday we kicked off with a presentation on population growth, and we learned that in order to make significant strides when it comes to planning our cities, urban planning has to be considered. We talked about how technology is disrupting the real estate sector, and there was a lot of emphasis on technology throughout the course of the day. We looked into the evolving side of commercial real estate and the demand drivers. We learned that occupiers are looking for flexible lease terms and requesting for smaller office spaces. We learned that the market is asking for more affordable properties, and we're seeing a rise in the number of co-working spaces here in Nigeria. And we tried to solve the puzzle that is affordable housing. I don't know if we got there, but we definitely had an interesting conversation around that. We learned that the residential market, things are changing there as well. We've seen an increase in the interest in one-bedroom apartments and studios, which is quite interesting because that's sort of a social change as well. We learned that real estate has a role to play in building for the future, and this is where green buildings come to mind. So today we will focus on sales, which at the end of the day, that's what you're aiming for, right? And funding, and we'll look at how the facilities management space is changing as well. And then later on, there'll be discussions around the retail sector, which we didn't tap into yesterday at all. We also didn't talk about hotels yesterday, so we're going to be taking a good look at that as well, I think after lunch. So we urge that you stick around, because there's a lot of interesting panel discussions that will be happening throughout the day. And of course, we'll continue the conversation around PropTech, which was pretty key yesterday, and it was something that a lot of people mentioned, and how that's disrupting the industry. And today we'll talk around property valuation and land. We touched on land a little yesterday, but today we'll have a more detailed insight into that space. Okay, so let's kick off. It is 9:30, so let's start. Our first session of the day is an international guest speaker, and with a presentation titled Shifting Your Focus. We will discover the untapped potential for sales success in your organization, even in a down economy. The format is going to be a 30-minute session, 25 minutes or 20 minutes or so of a presentation, and then we'll throw to questions. I would like to welcome to the stage Yamini Virani, founder, Celebris Business Strategies USA. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as she makes her way up, and we thank you for coming.
Good morning. How are we doing today? Might have to try some aerobics here to get that working. Let's see. I was told to point right at the far end of the corner. And of course, when I tried this, it worked. Ah, perfect. Okay. What do you see in this picture? Faces. What specifically? Where are the faces?
Faces surrounding a tree.
Surrounding a tree. How many faces can you see?
9.
I need some numbers. 9? 10. Okay.
10.
10. Absolutely. There are 10 faces in there. When you first started looking at the picture, what did you see? You probably just saw the first 2 phases, didn't you? When you look closer, you see there's much more to the picture. And when you shift your focus and when you look deeper at a picture, you'll see other things that you would never have experienced before or never have seen before. And your market is very much like that. And how you sell to your market is very much like that. Yes, we are in a recession. The recession is also a great breeding ground for entrepreneurs that are called survivalist entrepreneurs. We have some right here at home with people like Linda Keji. My hope for you today is to help you look beyond the obvious. Work past the branches and look for other pictures that are there. And as you look through that, perhaps you'll find opportunities that you may not have explored before. I can't do this alone. I need your help for that. You are all experts in your field. Abba, Anne, Roland, Jonathan, Pierce, you're all experts at what you do. As experts sometimes, when we hear of a concept, we go into the I know mode. And when we go into the I know mode, our learning memories stop forming. We can't process and learn new information. So if you hear something today that you've heard of before, I'm going to ask you to ask this other question. What else don't I know about this? Give me a nod if that's okay. Would that be okay? I see a few nods. Yeah? If you're not okay, you can say, no, I'm not okay. That's fine too. When we look at a recession or a recovery, we are in disequilibrium. There's imbalance. There's more supply than there is demand. So how do you really sell in this market? It's so saturated. It's difficult, yes? Well, the good news is if it's saturated, it tells you that there's demand for your product. That's the bright side. I know it doesn't feel like that. When the recession hits, sometimes it's like, it almost feels like you're swimming in this ocean and there's a big wave that comes and hits you. And you're just trying to catch your breath and stay afloat. And that becomes the modus operandi for most businesses as they're trying to catch their breath and make it to the shore. And here's what happens. We begin competing on costs. We try to look at what our competitors are doing, and we try to outdo them. And we try to focus on fervent sales activity, hoping that that'll take us to the shore. Yes, it will, but you run out of steam very fast. So how do you ride the wave? The first one is resist the temptation to market and sell like everyone else. You all know about the 4 stages of real estate cycles, right? All the way from recovery to recession, what's involved in it. How you sell in a recovery and how you sell in an expansion are completely different skill sets. and how you approach your market, how you communicate with them, how you engage with them, how you actually attract customers. It's a very different skill set. It's almost like swimming in the ocean versus swimming in the pool. Two completely different techniques. Companies that survive all over the world, especially in your industry, in developers, they do three things that they can focus on to help them shift out of it. There's only so much we can control about the external environment right now, but there are three main things that you can still control which are within your control to help you move to the next level. The first one is uncovering niche markets. What do I mean by that? You all have pockets of opportunities, niche markets in this industry, which still have money. I know you're going, I don't know about that. Well, let's get to that. Stay with me on that. When you uncover a niche market, you actually create a space for yourself where you stand out and become the specialist, and you are known for what you do. You stand out from the crowd. The second thing is understand how your buyers buy. Sometimes we are so trapped in the seller mode. We think, we act, we breathe like sellers. We have to break out of this mold. We have to break out of this mold. I was having an interesting conversation with one of the ladies outside, Anne-Marie, and she was talking to me, and she tells me, you know, I would really like to buy a house, but all of the developers I see, they're more interested in selling to my mom and dad. My mom and dad have already bought the house. Make it matter to me. Create situations that will work for me. And lastly, translating your boardroom strategy into your ground reality. This is a really, really key one, because until you understand the perspective of how sales works from the perspective of the people who are making it happen, you're going to miss pockets of opportunity. So I invite you to explore this with me. Let's talk about how we uncover niche markets. What exactly is a niche market? It's a subset of a market with unique needs. When you cater to these unique needs, you stand out from your competition, and you create a specialist place in this market, in this competitive market for yourself. Let me give you an example. 45 Park Lane is a boutique hotel in London. Great example of how hospitality industry is so keen on niche marketing. And the only thing this hotel is known for, it's built around art. They are known as the people who are the hotel when it comes to art, right? I was recently reading an article on hospitality trends, and the general manager of Intercont, Davos, talks about niche is not a trend. It is the way to go. It is the way to profitability. We can't ignore it. But let's look right here, back at home. Is this working in Nigeria? Is this working in Ghana? When I talk to a lot of my developer clients and I ask them, so tell me a little bit about your market. Who is your market? Who are you going after? And they'll come and tell me, oh, technology. Yes, we all know technology is such a great industry here, right? Tell me more about technology. Well, you know, there are these startups coming up. Let's slice that. Let's slice that and go deeper. When you look at technology, there's healthcare information systems. Within healthcare information systems, there are companies that are doing digital supply of medication. There are companies that are supplying, they're doing blood bank supplies. There are companies that are just managing they're managing data based on cloud platforms, right? So there are other companies that are doing electronics records management. Even within, as you slice through that, there is so much opportunity there. And let me show you the money here. So there's a report by Disrupt Africa which talks about 115 startups, Medi startups, starting right here in Nigeria, who have got funding for over $119 million. Is there money there? If you're looking for investors to buy in your property, is there money here? Look for pockets of opportunity in your market. Why should you care about your niche market, though? The most important is the closer you get to your market, the better you understand your clients. You understand what they care about. What's important to them? When I know you better, I can actually change my offering to suit you. By focusing on a smaller niche, I get to become the expert. I become the go-to person. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how do you find these pockets of opportunity? It's all great. The niche marketing is great, but how do I really do it? So I'll walk you through an example, if that's okay. So let's say I have a developer client, and one of their biggest clients that they go after are investors. So I'm having this conversation with them, and I say, so tell me, what is a good client for you? Describe an investor. What do they look like? I mean, if you were FBI or CSI Miami, you need to be able to paint a picture for me, right? You know, those guys who really paint these beautiful pictures, and you can say, that's the guy I'm looking for, right? So let's paint that picture. Where are these people? So the investors, they tell me, are high net worth individuals. And I absolutely love that term, high net worth individuals. Right? Okay, describe to me a little bit more about that. Well, they're the rich families. We have so many rich families in Nigeria. That's the ones we're targeting. Like, okay, great place to start. Sounds really good. What are the other pockets of opportunities? Where are those investors hanging out? And that's when we go silent. Okay. Here are 3 questions to help you explore that. What sectors of the economy are doing well? Despite everything we've heard yesterday, yes, the economy is not doing great. Okay, let's focus on what's doing well. In Q2 of 2018, the non-oil sector grew by 2%. Information was big on that? Absolutely. But the industries that were picking up involved food, accommodation, supply, transport, storage, recreation, music. Are there some people with money? Might be investors who are looking to capitalize on this low market, looking for properties. What kind of businesses are global investors investing here? So I was doing some research in terms of looking at what's going on in this market. Who are the venture capitalists? 500 Startups is a Silicon-based Valley company. Venture capital, and they have 175 million in investment-ready firms that they're looking for tech startups right here. 115 medical tech startups started up. Omidyar Foundation, founded by eBay, has Africa as a major hub of where they want to bring the investments. And they've spread in various ventures across here, 50 million, and you'll know some of the companies there. Hotels Nigeria. Another example is AB Sinovic. It's a Swedish-based company. It's one of the largest investment companies coming out of Europe, listed. And 8% of the portfolio is allocated for Africa. What companies are they investing in? E-commerce, marketplace, entertainment, and some of the brand names that you look at, Jumia, Iroko TV. Those are the kind of companies that are funding. So is there activity going on? Absolutely. Are we looking at the areas where the activity is? Are we playing in our little pond? Old money versus new money. Let's follow the path of money. It's always interesting when you follow the money. Where is the money right now? Some questions you can ask yourself. Who was on the rich list 5 years ago? Who's on the rich list now? Who were the 30 under 30 5 years ago? Who are the 30 under 30 now with money? Who are the 40 under 40? Who are the top 30 musicians? Who are the top 30 bloggers? Who are the top 30 tech startups? This is beginning to open up some opportunities as you look at niche markets. When you niche for success, how closely you define your target market makes all the difference. It's great to understand your niche market because that's what they're asking you. The most important thing is, what's in it for me? Talk to me. So it's interesting when I talk to clients and I tell them, okay, so if I'm your client, what's in it for me? Why should I do business with you? And the first thing they will start off will tell me, well, we have a great opportunity for you. Okay, I've heard that before. I'm sure you've heard that before. And I'm sure all the investors you're targeting have heard that before. Is your pitch still the same that you were using 3 years ago? Think from your customer's perspective. What value can you create for them? And it's really hard to create value for them until you really understand what their niche is. What are the primary problems they're facing? How do I solve these? How can I be there for you, to serve you, before I can reach out to you for that? Okay. There we go. Now I switch this thing off. Wonderful. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take 2 minutes and actually think of 3 niche markets that you may never have thought of before and something that might be worth exploring. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. What are 3 niche markets that you may not have thought of as you market and sell your services? Have a little fun. Let your imagination go wild. What is it? Anybody like to share anything that they might have come up with? Okay, so what's the second thing that we need to do as buyers? What do buyers want from us, and how do we sell to them? How many of you feel like sales are delayed these days, decisions take longer to make, and the prospects that were in your pipeline suddenly evaporate? Anybody feeling like that? Yes? See a raise of hands, right? Oh, I know that pain. I know that pain. Welcome to the age of information parity. When your buyer knows as much as you as the seller, when the sellers are no longer the purveyors of information, your job as sellers is really about helping them sift through the data and helping them make the best decision. We've gone from a stage of caveat emptor, meaning buyer beware, to caveat venditor. Seller be aware. Your buyers know as much as you are. When you go to sell a property, they've done the research. And yesterday we talked about Zama, right? I've already done my research as a buyer when I come look at your property. What is the value add you have for me on that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to step on the other side of the table, the buyer side with me. Step on the other side of the table with me. Your buyers are not looking for salespeople anymore. You can change your product to suit them, which is fantastic, a step in the right direction. But until you change the way you sell, will not matter. So, when you are on this side of the table with the buyer, your buyer is making 3 decisions. The first one, should I allow you access into my life? In other words, should I meet you for a meeting? The second thing, what you're saying, interesting enough for me, have you thought about me, who I am as a person, what I need? For me to think about changing. And the third thing, are you the right guy or the right gal for me to do business with you? Aren't you making those decisions as buyers? You are? Yeah? Okay. Sales is not a numbers game, it's a relationship game. So, let me take you back. Let me take you back to your dating days. Remember the time when you were out dating, or if you're dating now, which let me take you back into that. So, talk to me about this. So, when you wanted to ask a girl or a guy out to coffee, what did you say? What'd you call and say?
Can you please go for coffee with me?
What's that? Will you go to coffee with me? Absolutely. What I know you definitely didn't say is this. Hi, Mary, this is John. I'm just calling to see if you're in the market to get married. I would love to introduce you to myself. I'm a banker. I own a Mercedes. I make 100 million nairas a month. And I'm actually talking to quite a few women right now who are very interested in marrying me. Would you like to go on a coffee date with me? Would you not? I know you wouldn't say that. Where are the married people in the room? Married people in the room? You got married, so I know for sure you did not say that. Right? But when we go to sell to a prospect, isn't that what we're saying? Hi, I'm so-and-so. We have the best investment opportunity for you. When can I meet and come tell you all about me? Anyway, Mary decides to give John a try, and she says, well, you know, it's curious. Nobody's ever approached me for a date like that. Let me go have lunch with you. And then John goes to Mary, and he says, well, it's all about me. I grew up here. I was born in Nigeria. When I was 10, I was sent to boarding school. I studied in England. I went to the London School of Economics. When I came back to Nigeria, I set up this law firm. I work with all the top clients here. And I have an Aunt Jemima who's been an inspiration for me. Never mind that she's a little bit insane, but she really is a great mentor to me, and she's going to leave me all this wealth that she has. And so when can I come meet your parents? At this point, Mary's like, oh my God, can I ever get out of this fast enough? I should be polite enough to say, well, I'll get back to you, right? I'll get back to you. And John goes back and he tells his colleague, he tells his buddy Joseph, he says, oh, Joseph, guess what? I had a great meeting. I think she's definitely coming on. We are definitely going to the next step, meeting the parents. And Mary's saying, the whole conversation was about him. The whole conversation was about him. He did not even care about me. He didn't even bother to ask me who I am, what I care about. Is that how your sales team might be selling? By the time you get to the third phase, you have to build that relationship where you are the choice. Sales is not a numbers game. It is a relationship game. Don't be promiscuous in your lead generation, because then you'll be known as the guy or the girl who has all of these dates but never gets married. We tend to do that as sellers. We say, well, if they're not closed, move on. Next. Who's next? Who can I go hunting for next? And we don't nurture that relationship. And I know in the West African culture, the relationships are so important for you, right? It's the same concept. Bring it into your sales. And the relationship is not asking how you are, how things going. It's really engaging. What is it that you are really challenged with? How can I help you? How can I be of service to you? So I want you to take a minute and actually think about this. How is your sales process supporting the way your clients like to buy? Your buyers have 4 biggest fears. The first one, am I paying too much? The second one, is this the right decision for me? The third one, if I make a mistake, will I lose face? Will my peers disown me? And the fourth one, is it too hard to change? Those are the 4 main fears your buyers have. When you engage with your buyers, think about how you're laying those fears. If your sales process is in sync with how your buyers want to buy, your pipeline is healthy and people are moving towards a close. If it's not, you might want to try this. Look at it from the perspective of your buyer. The last point I want to share with you is translating your boardroom strategy into ground reality. So, show of hands, how many of you are in sales or have sales teams here? Or are responsible for achieving a sales goal? Okay, great. So, what I'd like for us to do is I want to take you through a journey and put yourselves in the shoes of your sales team, because they determine how they connect with your audience, isn't it? With your market and how they sell. When you look at a different perspective, you can come up with a different solution. So, are you ready to do some math? Or maybe that's not a good question to ask. You might just run out of the room. Okay, pens, papers, calculators, out. Let's go. Ready? Roll up your sleeves. Pens, papers, calculators. That's all I want from you. Write down your annual goal for sales. You don't have to share it with anybody. Your annual goal for sales. Okay? Annual goal for sales. Let's say if it's 60 million US dollars. Divided by 12. What do you get? You get your monthly goal. Yes? You with me on it so far? What I want you to do is now think about the average price of your product. Say if your average price of a house sells for $250,000. Use that. What I want you to do is divide the 5 million, which is your monthly goal, by the average sales price. Got it? Everybody got to that part? Yes, no? We're good, okay. Now, I want you to think about conversion rate. And when I say conversion rate, what does that mean? Okay, so think about your sales team. When they meet 10 people, how many closed deals do they bring to the table? If they bring 2 out of 10, they have a close rate of 20%, right? When you go to big clients and you talk to 10, you might do 3. Your close rate becomes 30%, okay? So that's the number I want you to use. Now here's the tricky part. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the number of, in order to get the number of sales appointments, what I'm trying to do here with you is trying to do the math backwards, okay? And trying to understand how many appointments is it going to take for me to get married, right? To land a deal, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the number of units that you got for your goal and divide it by your conversion rate. And remember, it's a percentage, so point whatever, 0.2, okay? 20 divided by 0.2. You get 100 appointments, yes? You with me this so far? Have I lost anybody? No. Okay, good. We're on that. So that means I need 100 appointments to actually meet my monthly goal. Huh, interesting. These 100 appointments are, will you marry me conversations, where I'm talking money. I'm ready to sign the check, okay? So I want you to look at the next step, which is going to be, if you got 100 appointments, in order to get those marriage dates, you obviously had to do some work before, right? To make those contacts. So let's say out of every 10 people you contacted, 1 agreed to meet you. That means there's a little more work before that, okay? And I'll share this math with you. So by the time you finish this calculation, you're coming up with a number which may look like this. Wow, the number of contacts I want my salesperson to make is 100 a month. Is that doable? Is that really doable? If it is, that's great. If it's not, then you know where your strategy is failing from the boardroom to the ground reality. And maybe you can't change the goals, but these are some questions you can ask. What other resources do I need? Is the market the same it was 6 months ago? Or is it going to be different from now? And you shift the focus from what you want your team to do to focus on why. Why is this important? And get in there with them to figure out the how, because they're fumbling with the how. When they look at the number, they're not looking at the goal. They're looking at the how. Oh my God, how am I going to get there? And that's where they need you as leaders. Sales performance starts with you. So I talked to you about the 3 things developers around the world are doing to shift markets, to shift their sales opportunities. Yes, we are in a recession. I understand that. We are in a recession. We don't have control over these things around us sometimes. But the most successful companies, like the J.W. Marriott, were actually built in the Great Depression. Did they have a silver bullet? No. Were they smarter than you? No. But what they did was asked a different question of themselves. And they asked themselves, where are the opportunities? And they also asked to shift the focus on what they could control and not focus on what they couldn't control. And I hope you can do that for yourself today. Thank you, and good luck.
Fantastic. Thank you, Yamini. Great tips that can be translated into any industry or definitely any scenario. Thank you very much. A round of applause, another round of applause for her as she comes down. Thank you.